We are confident that we will have a response from the Iranians by 8 o'clock tonight, whether it is positive or negative. I hope they give the right answer because we want a world where oil and gas flow freely and people can afford to heat and cool their homes and commute to work. That won't happen if the Iranians are involved in acts of economic terrorism. So they need to know that we have tools at our disposal that we haven't decided to use yet. The President of the United States can decide to use them, and he will decide to use them if the Iranians don't change their behavior.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Time is running out for tonight's deadline to avoid bombing Iran's infrastructure back to the Stone Age, as the President said. Do you have any new information indicating that a deal can be reached by then?
And secondly, there have been some statements from your administration about this war, saying that God supports the United States in this war and that the attacks on Iran are part of God's will. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on the claim that God supports Ziwa in these attacks?
Well, you asked if there's any new information, and I don't, unless I get a text message from Steve. Well, I have a text message from Steve Witkoff. Wouldn't you like to know the subject of this message? But no, I need to read it first before talking about it. But here it is, here it is. What time is it now in the United States? About 5 minutes ago, makes sense. Okay. Right, so Natalie, about this agreement issue, I really think there are two paths. The President has been very clear about this. There are two ways for this to end. First, Siren and Ziwa have already achieved most of their military objectives. There are still a few things left, like preventing Iran from making weapons. We would have liked to advance further militarily, but the objectives of the United States have been achieved. As the President said, this war will end soon, and the outcome ultimately depends on the Iranians. I think there are really two paths, and I'm simplifying. I believe that in the first scenario, the Iranians decide to be a normal country. They will no longer finance terrorism. They will become part of the global system of trade and exchange, and that will bring better results for them. That will be better for world peace and security. It will mean many good things for many people around the planet. That's option A, right? Option B is, if the Iranians don't negotiate and continue to be committed to terrorism, attacking their neighbors, not just Israel, but of course also the Arabs, the economic situation in Iran will remain very bad and will probably get worse. And what the President asked his team, especially Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, was, find out what the outlines of a possible agreement are, what they are willing to do, because militarily, to be frank, it doesn't make a difference to us one way or another. The main issue is how things will look afterward, which is what the negotiations have focused on. And the President also made it very clear that while the Iranians try to impose the maximum possible economic cost through the Strait of Hormuz, the United States has the ability to impose much greater economic costs on Iran than Iran has the ability to impose on us or our allies in the world. I hope they are smart. The President set a 12-hour deadline in the United States. We'll find out, but there will be a lot of negotiation between now and then, and I hope we reach a good resolution. About your second question, if God is on our side, God is, on whose side? My position on military conflicts has always been to pray that we are on God's side, and I believe we are doing this for the right reasons. We are doing this to prevent a regime that has already committed acts of terrorism from possessing the most dangerous weapon in the world, because that would cause the death of many innocent people. I hope that God agrees that Iran should not have nuclear weapons, but I will keep praying, and if he gives me an answer, you will be the first to know, Natalie. Next question. Let me take a look. I think we have Reuters and AP. Let's go with Reuters then. All right, that really sounds great to me for sure. I checked my earpiece to see if anyone from my team would tell me who to call, but no one answered me. This is just Hungarian, so go ahead.
Thank you, Senior Vice President. This is Hunain Raham from Reuters. I have a few questions. I think you need to read this text because we have information that the United States is attacking some targets on Karg Island. You said that the military objective, the goals of this war have been achieved. So could you explain why the President is still threatening to attack all the bridges and all the power plants in Iran? You said this would end soon, but at yesterday's press conference, when asked about deadlines, he wasn't specific. He had mentioned 4 to 6 weeks, and we're already in the 6th. Is there a schedule? Sorry, these are spontaneous questions.
A lot of questions,
Okay, I'll stop. I mean, the question in Hungary is this. If Prime Minister Orbán loses, will the United States commit to working with the new leader? Will you have a memorable relationship with the new leader? Thank you very much.
Well, of course we will work with whoever wins the Hungarian elections because we love the people of Hungary and it's an important relationship. But Viktor Orbán will win the next elections in Hungary. I'm quite confident about that. And about our positive relationship, is that correct? That's the plan. Okay, all right. So you asked about Karg Island. Well, from what I understand, after talking to Pete and General Kane about it, we were going to strike some military targets on Karg Island. I believe so. We followed the president's deadline, who clearly said, we will not attack energy and infrastructure targets until the Iranians present a proposal that we can either support or not. But he gave them until Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So I don't believe that the news about Karg Island represents a change in strategy or any shift on the part of the President of the United States. He keeps saying the deadline is 8 o'clock, but what is it for? Basically, Iran is trying, after the military defeat, to cause as much damage as possible, economic damage to the world. President Zipinua Siselo is a man who understands leverage. If the Iranians want to impose suffering, the United States has the ability to impose much, much more. Pain, the president doesn't want to do that, and I don't want to either. That's why we negotiate firmly. But the final decision is up to the Iranians. Well, I think the president has already spoken about this. I'll say that the Iranians weren't the fastest negotiators before the war, and they certainly aren't now. We recognize that sometimes there is a delay in sending messages between people, but we are confident that we will receive a response, whether positive or negative. We will have a response from them by 8 o'clock tonight. I hope they give the right answer, because we want a world where oil and gas flow freely, where people pay to heat and cool their homes and also to go to work. That won't happen if the Iranians are involved in acts of economic terrorism. So they need to know that we have tools at our disposal that we haven't decided to use yet. The President of the United States can and will decide to use them. If the Iranians don't change their behavior, I think that's it. Mr. Vice President, Minister Annika, a question. Thank you very much, Prime Minister, Vice President. We'll end the press conference now. Thank you for joining us and see you soon. Certainly, thank you.